Well, greetings and welcome back, Blade fans. OG Blade Reviews is back with you once again. Thanks for joining me. And I've got a real interesting and perhaps a bit extensive review today because it's going to involve some other knives, both by the Williams Blade Design Company, as well as Columbia River, for whom James Williams, has designed a great number of knives over the years. Now his son, Chris Williams, has been designing knives for a few years now as well, and has been doing some great work with both fixed blades as well as folders. And James Williams is known a bit more for the custom knives and for the Columbia River designs. That said, they're all Japanese-inspired designs, and James Williams has a great history going back decades studying the Japanese sword, the katana, and various methods of combat. He has distilled that down into, if that's the correct word, distilled, into what he calls his system of strategy. And he teaches this to tactical units, military units, and special operations units throughout the world. So it's much more than just a knife, it's much more than just a sword. So here we go. This is something I just picked up after some hesitation and waiting and figuring out if I wanted to do it or not. So I finally pulled the trigger, so to speak, on what they're calling the OZF0035. Now, this is a special version of a knife they had produced for a little while under their own label. And by the way, made by Lionsteel, OEM'd by Lionsteel in Italy. And here is the not system of strategy, this is the Williams Blade Design logo, which is the Great Wave. It's a copy of the painting of the Great Wave by Katsushika Hokusai. Very famous, I think it goes back to the 1600s, perhaps. I may be wrong on that. I'm not a Japanese historian. Here's a card that comes with it, and there you can see the knife underneath that we're going to explore in just a moment. But here are the basics of it. It is a Osoraku Zukuri folder. That's the blade style. OZF003, 4.5 inch or 120 millimeter blade from Magnacut. By the way, the HRC on this is going to be 62, which is hard enough to hold an edge and not quite so hard that you can't sharpen it in the field, which is very important because they designed this for special operators. And this has already been tested in the field through a model that they modified under the Columbia River label. Frame lock titanium, Lionsteel, Italy. Okay, there you go. And you can shoot that, scan that if you want to go out to the Williams site, but I'll leave you the link. All their knives are packed in these interesting origami sort of inspired cardboard boxes. And I forgot that there's one other item that I'll probably need to break quickly and go back and get because I'll explain that in a minute. But this is a large folder, 4.5 inches of the blade and over 10 inches overall. We have fat carbon. This is the black camo fat carbon. It's a beautiful carbon fiber. And you can see that the half that is carbon fiber meets the half that is titanium in sort of a integral, not really integral, obviously, because we got a seam there, but the carbon fiber goes all the way across and constitutes a large portion of the handle. Installed at the moment, and this doesn't come installed, is the flipper tab. This flipper tab is universal, so you can take it out, with this T6 screw. You can move it over to the left side, and there is a cutout, a relief, on the handle on both sides. Now, I use a little bit of wrist getting it out. There is the knife, okay, from Magnacut 62 HRC. There is the carbon fiber side. There is the titanium side, blackened titanium. I'm not sure how they blacken the titanium, but this is a vapor deposition PVD coating on here, very hard, over a stone wash. So since we got a lot of black going on with the knife, I'll try to raise it into the light and give you a little better view. I've had this knife completely disassembled. It is running on thick brass washers. So this is not your fidget knife special, flippy dippy, sit in your couch, watch TV, snappity snappity snap. Sorry to be sarcastic about that, but that's the reason a lot of guys buy knives, is so they can make them their personal yo-yo. I've done that too, so okay, I'm with you on that. This is not such a knife. The other thing you're going to notice about this knife, it is what they call sterile. What does that mean? Can't have babies? No. There is no branding on it for a reason. When operators go into combat areas and they're carrying gear, none of it is labeled, so that should they drop that piece of gear, a gun or knife or what have you, there is no way to trace it back to what unit, what country perhaps is using it. Although I'm sure it's, pretty easy to ascertain that other ways. But suffice it to say, no branding, no Williams blade design logo or any of that. There are other models, should you not want to purchase this one, that do have the branding, that do have a back flipper as part of the blade. Same materials, except that it is not the sterile version, and you have a back flipper rather than a flipper tab. Now, I'm going to bring out a little part here that installs, that I may install later on or I may not, depends. And I've got the little part here. This comes installed. So here is what they call the pocket hook. They don't refer to it as a wave opener. Although, look at that. It looks more like a wave than almost the Emerson does. It's got that rounded feature. So it's smooth, it's rounded. It's got the hole to accept the screw. And I'll just put it here so you get an idea. It looks like that and replaces the flipper tab. I'm sorry, not the flipper tab, the thumb tab. Okay. And obviously it's universal once it goes there. It doesn't matter which, it doesn't have a left side or a right side. It's centrally located on the blade, but you cannot have them both. You can have one or the other, and this is the one that comes installed. So the somewhat stiff action as a result of the brass washers on this. And why brass washers? Brass washers because they're more stable side to side as far as blade play goes. Easier to clean the knife should it get dropped into the mud or dirt, and you can disassemble it without too much worry about the bearings, and the bearings don't get, the washers don't get clogged up the way that a bearing would. Now you can see the brass washers on both sides there, I believe, yeah. And I took this completely apart because it was very tight when I first got it. It's still a bit tight now. Again, it's not supposed to be loose so that you can fidget with it. When you've got that pocket hook installed, you pull it out of the pocket, that thing snaps right open. That's kind of how it was designed. And the thumb tab, it was kind of an afterthought that Chris Williams decided he'd put on there. And we've had some conversations through email, and I appreciate him getting back and forth with me. But again, it's more designed, and this is the only one with the brass washers. The other models, and why don't I show those to you now? The other models, here we go, are, and forget the axe for now, but that's an expensive axe should you want it. Here are the prices. This is the operator model, Osoraku Zukuri. And I think you can probably, well, I'll show you the pictures here. Let's see, quickly. There's the pocket hook installed. Okay, so you can see what that looks like. That way I don't need to install it myself. I did have it in there. I may end up putting it back in. We'll see. And this I'm planning to make a daily carry knife. Here is the same knife. I know it looks a little purple with the black blade, but with the flipper tab. You can see the flipper tab right there. Photos, unfortunately, aren't the best. I should send Chris some photos. All right. Yeah. The black kind of hides. I think you can see it there. That's the flipper tab. Okay. And then there's one more version, which is the same knife with a non-blackened blade, with a naked blade. I think it's satin or stone washed. It might be satin. All right. All right. Let's get into a little more of this because this is going to be running long, and bear with me. I know you'll be fast forwarding or not. So we'll get some quick measurements on this, and then we're going to bring a number of other Williams family, shall we say, designed knives out. Overall length in inches, 10 1/4. Overall length in centimeters, 26, we'll call that, 26 centimeters. The blade, why not? It's 4.5 inches. Yep, exactly 4.5 inches. I think that's 120 millimeters. Very close, yeah. About, let's say 11.5 centimeters, okay? Getting out the calipers. Blade stock in millimeters, 4.6. Handle thickness in millimeters, 14.8. Switching to inches, 0.18 inches. It's supposed to be, well, we'll see. 0.58 inches across the handle. So in fractions, it's 3/16 is what they're saying, and I'll agree with that. Let's get a weight on it. And I'm going to bring up grams first. I said I would, and I will. Close it up, safer that way. And ounces, I'm sorry, grams, 164.7, and in ounces, 5.81 ounces. So yeah, that's not bad for something this size. And a lot of that weight reduction is accounted for by the fat carbon, and also by the fact that there is a fair amount of milling on the titanium side. I'm not sure you can see it, but there is a pocket down in there. Let's see if I can quickly get the flashlight out of the pocket without pulling the knife out of the frame. There it is. There she is, just to prove that. So we've got, yeah, a couple of pockets actually. milled out on the titanium side. So that balances the knife, because the handle on folders this size is always going to be larger than the knife, but it's right where that that little dished out area is there for the thumb flipper. Nice balance right there. So it feels quite lively in the hand, I would say. Get my ruler out of the way. Yeah. So when you're holding it way up here, you've got like almost 2 inches left over. You know, think in terms of some of the cold steel folders. You can cross palm it this way, right? Now, some of the comments I received when I put the short up, and there was a lot of interest in it. I think one of them was kind of silly, that liner locks are not combat knives, but this has already seen action under the Columbia River logo, and I don't know if that was a special run or not, but they specially modified those with the pocket hook. This has seen combat operations by operators that they can't give the name or the unit of, but these have been out there in the field and have been used for combat purposes, tactical purposes, and I think you know what that means. Maybe opening a can of provisions and maybe opening up something else. But frame locks, if they're done right, are solid and they're not going to close on you. I think that information would have gotten back to Williams had there been problems in the field. So you can agree with that or dispute that. That's totally up to you. Now, as far as the slippage goes, a lot of people are saying you have to have a guard. All you got to do is watch a few of James Williams' videos to see him driving this through plywood, 1/4 inch or better, all the way through up to the handle, okay? Not this particular one, but his other knives, very similar to this one. They put these grooves in this, and you're going to see this echoed on some of the fixed blades, that there is no guard. There is no guard per James Williams' philosophy, because guards tend to get snagged on things in combat. They tend to hook on clothing, your clothing, the assailant's clothing, what have you. Again, you can agree or dispute that. If you've had personal experience in that type of scenario and disbelieve in this, then certainly stick with your philosophy, stick with your experience. But he will palm the knife on the thrust, and this is the most secure way to get it to go directly in. He will always angle the knife on a thrust, right? Not to say that in a pical position you couldn't drive it in and have the thumb there. So the guard, according to James Williams, is not needed. I'll leave it at that, and you can dispute that or agree with that. But these ridges here will certainly give you a lot of grip with no slippage. This is not a slippery fat carbon either. Got good grip. There's your over travel stop built into the pivot, which is nice. Deep carry clip, if I didn't mention it, is switchable because you've got a T8 on the back that'll switch it over to the other side. Speaking of that, T8 on the pivot and hardware, these two screws, T8 and T8 here. So we've got 3 body screws. We've got the hardened steel insert screw, that's T6. So T6 here and T6 here, those are the only T6s on the knife. Okay, I figure at this point that, if I can find one here, we'll do a bit of a sharpness test. I did try this out, and Lionsteel gave us a really good edge. Now, it's been my experience that some of the Columbia River knives do not have not come through with the greatest edges. This one certainly does. So I think you'd be good right out of the box. You can cut with it and do utility chores, but it is, as you can see, mainly a stabber. Osoraku Zukuri is a very famous style of Tanto, and we could call this, generally speaking, a Japanese Tanto. Again, not your chisel point American-inspired Tanto, aka cold steel. So we have two distinct surfaces here, one here, and then this long taper here. Let me bring out another folder to start with. I was going to bring things out in order of size, but this is a very special knife designed by Chris Williams, sorry. The OZF SO1, excuse me, with the S standing for spectral carbon fiber. So this knife is integral carbon fiber, integral fat carbon fiber. Yes. The lock bar has been tested 100,000 cycles, made by Lionsteel. This is a special fat carbon fiber designed by the Fat Carbon Company for Williams, or perhaps for some industrial uses, I'm not sure. It is like 5 to 10 times more dense than regular fat carbon. And again, it has been tested to withstand 100,000 openings and closings. It is light beyond belief. Check my review on this one. I'm not going to bother putting it on the scale right now. 3.5-inch blade. M390 on this one by Lionsteel, 62 HRC, same as this one, as far as I know. And there is the Osoraku Zukuri style blade, again, only in a beautiful satin finish. That is a crazy design. I'm not sure they're still making it. There was a previous version where the other side, the lock bar side, was titanium. But as you can see, this lock bar is all milled out of the spectral carbon fiber with hardened steel insert. Yes. So you got that matching up with the blade. Now, one more little folder here. This is an oldie but goodie that I got a long time ago, 15 or more years ago, from Columbia River. This is another Osoraku Zukuri style blade. It is called the Hisatsu 2. Deep carry, small blade. We've got, what do we got going on here? 3-inch blade, so it's even smaller than this guy. Steel liners and G10, switchable clip, deep carry, and it is an assisted folder. But here's the thing. Okay, there's the spring, and you can sort of see the spring. It's blackened. There it is on the back. You guys that don't like springs, there's a screw right down in there. You loosen the screw and this bar will slide out through the pommel, and you can remove that spring entirely and have simply a liner lock without the assist. Got a really nice disc opener there. This thing opens beautifully. It has the locks, double lock here. Call it a safety if you want. Basically, it blocks the liner. So added security, so that one can't fold on you. And I'm going to take it off now because if I try to fold it later, I'll forget. Line them up with the pommels, best we can here. Now we get into the fixed blade territory. Another Osoraku Zukuri style blade, 3.5-inch fixed blade. This is the Osoraku Zukuri Mini Kaiken. Also a Lionsteel. This is in Sleipner steel, not a stainless steel, but a, don't know all the qualities of Sleipner steel. You can look that one up, S-L-E-I-P-N-E-R, Sleipner steel. Same handle treatment, okay? So if we get that guy out of the equation and look at these, you've got a fixed blade here that's actually half an inch or more shorter than the spectral carbon fiber folder or frame lock. Comes with a nice sheath. Not going to spend too much time on the fixed blades because there are reviews on all of these. A lot of you guys have these and you really like them. This is a little more recent. This is the Osoraku Zukuri Kaiken, not Mini Kaiken, Mini Kaiken, Kaiken. Black micarta. Hidden tang on both of these. So we have, there's your two halves that clamshell onto the tang. Tang goes, actually you can see it. Tang goes all the way to the end. You can't see it exposed, but it goes all the way to that hole for the lanyard. All right, now we can order them according to size. Need to change it later, sort of. All right, well, let's get the folders out of the way and talk to you about the fixed blades. Now, funny how this 4.5-inch blade against this 4.5-inch blade, exact same blade length, much longer handle to accommodate the pivot and the folding action of the knife, but same length blade, both in Magnacut, both HRC 62. Sleipner steel, 3.5-inch blade. Now, if these are all too pricey for you, and I can appreciate if they are, we can get into the Columbia River variants, HZ4 out of SK5 steel, Columbia River, just a bit over $100. This came out recently as a smaller version to the SK6, which I'll show you in a moment. Really lightweight, thinner stock. The style of this blade, notice, is a bit different. This is the Hira Zukuri. And if you know your Japanese blade designs, you're familiar with that. Hira Zukuri, Osoraku Zukuri. You don't have the compound grind here that you have here. It's just all one swoop. Now, if you wonder why we have this here, it does provide an extra point for slicing. It does also give you two edges, and you might be using this one a bit more for utility and this one more for your slashing and your combat and so on and so forth. Not 100% sure, but I know there's guys out there that are much more expert than I, not that I'm an expert, in the Japanese blade styles. Finally, this is the original HZ6. Look at the size of that guy. And that's the reason they came out with the shorter model. It's lighter, it's shorter, it's easier to carry. But this one has gotten a tremendous following. This is the, again, HZ6, Hira Zukuri style, as opposed to Osoraku Zukuri. All right, I probably repeated myself enough. I'm going to try putting a few of these away and see if we can focus on the highlight for today. And I think I've covered most aspects of it. Run out of compare knives here. I'm not going to use any other brands for compare today. One of the complaints about the Columbia River variants is that the blades didn't come through too sharp. I did have that issue with this guy here as well, the Osoraku Zukuri Mini Kaiken, but I took care of that on my Worksharp Precision Adjust Pro, and it took a little bit of time. You've got to treat these as two separate planes, and I was able to match the original bevel and get it nice and even and not destroy the point. And it's a laser now. It was. Yeah, it is. You know, I keep trying to push the knife through, and really, to be fair to the edge, you've got to draw it. So it's definitely, shall we say, meat cutting sharp. Forget the paper. Okay, another look around this giant folder that does have two other variants, as I mentioned, if you want the flipper tab. And those variants, by the way, as well, if I didn't mention it, have bearings. This is the only one, the operator version, that's running on washers for a reason. And again, that reason is to be able to service it in the field, for the blade to be more stable, and it is just fixed blade tough. Fixed blade, no wiggle, nothing. Lockup is really good. I would say some of you might prefer that it be a little deeper, but that frame lock bar is really not flimsy and not easy to disengage. When you're grabbing the knife in this position, you are adding further support to that frame lock. And you know, again, you decide for yourself. I'm not here to convince you to give up your fixed blade. If you like fixed blades, you've got all those others that are designed by Chris and James Williams that could be a substitute for this. And yeah, that's pricey. The fixed blades are roughly half this price. So if you get into his custom fixed blades, then you're going $400, $500, $600. And I forget who makes those, but I think it's a company in Croatia where they are handmade for them on production line or custom. I'm not entirely sure. There you go. Hope you enjoyed that lengthy, almost 25-minute, no, actually probably 30 minutes. I did 2 segments. Hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget to give this vid a like. There's my logo right there. Click on that and you can subscribe to the channel if you haven't. For those that are subscribers, thanks for coming back. And got plenty more blades queued up over the next few days to show you from different companies. Be well, take care, stay safe.